Okay, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are looking at it, listening to this podcast and this Zoom session. Um, this is our first session for the year 2024-2025, going over summer programs planning. First off, I think like 4 or 5 sessions, depending how much material Anu has created, we'll go over this. But again, just in a high level, this is a high stress time for students and parents. Most uh, most parents think it's critical to plan for summer programs, and so do students. They're not wrong. There are a lot of myths along the way. So one of the things both Anu and I want to do in this call is bust some of those myths. Okay. Uh, we'll initially go over a few questions that Anu's created to just to get the summarize the perspective, and then we'll go into a detailed presentation. So with that, Anu, what do you have to discuss with us? What's the message? What are some of the questions that you were lingering on your mind that we should get into?
Thank you, Harpal, for the warm welcome. And definitely, summer program is one of my most, yeah, I'm excited to talk about it. And, it's always like, hey, Harpal, how does this work? What do we do? Right. Like, so it's all the more reason to be excited about this. Um,
Problem with your being excited is our students come in thinking they'll get a small list of like 4 programs to apply for, and they'll just apply. And then you show them all these programs, and they get nervous, and they get okay over time, but it takes a while for them to get over the 20 programs down to 10, down to 4, literally like we build college lists. So
Absolutely.
I don't know, some
Absolutely.
I pity the poor kids who have to deal with all this from all of us. So, but it's
No, but
necessary. So
there's no reward without the hard work, right? So at the end of the path, there is victory. So what I think about summer programs in general is that to understand why we are doing what we are doing, why are summer programs so important, right? Like why is summer such a valuable time for students to invest something? Either they are students trying to identify an interest and they're confused and the parents are like, oh, I don't know what they want to do, right? So that's a time for you to like go away from the academic stress and purely log into the hours and do the things for the joy and the spark you feel, right? Or there are students who have established interest and they want to fortify it, strengthen it by doing a deep dive. But it's literally a period of phenomenal time to invest in exploration and discovery, to develop interests, to further the interest and gain valuable skills, collaboration, and purely reflect and grow. I think that imagine this spread over 3 summers from ninth to 12th grade, right? Like that's just building your academy of self growth and reflection and gaining valuable time, boosting your academic profile along with that.
sometimes I think of summer programs as like a time for them to get some play time. And even students we send to Santa Barbara or to Cosmos, they come back saying they had that time of their life because they party hard and they work hard, right? They from morning to evening they are with the professors, evening they finish their assignments and then they play. So you see these students coming back and they're like literally like half dead when they come back because they're so tired of that 1 month long ordeal or the fun, but it definitely is a memorable experience as long as it's planned well. It's not a 6 week online program. It's not a program that your dad wanted you to go to, or it's not something you think like, oh, research is critical for my career, so I have to do it. No, not true. But I hear you. It is a valuable time.
Yeah. So we also it's important for the students to think, why should they consider participating in summer programs? Like, why not just take a 1 week online and not do much and have fun for the rest of the 6 or 7 weeks? Um, so the as we talked already, the academic enrichment is a benefit, right? Along with that, as you clearly said, these kids go through some programs which are in fact deep dive, and they are like, oh my god, this is so stressful, but I enjoy it. I enjoy my time talking to a professor about machine learning and applying it to this side, this field, and talking to the PhD mentors and working with my peer group to solve a problem in the lab. Like that's absolutely fascinating. And when one of my students went for a UC SIP program, right, like 7 weeks, and he would still come and have meetings with me on Sunday evenings, and I'm like, "Aren't you tired?" He's like, "Oh my God, I am exhausted. Like I can fall asleep, but." I love what I'm doing here. And like that is where like they're really discovering their future journey, right? Like that's just empowering to hear. And that's where I think the focus of what we are planning as, counselors at SK to help them find these programs and find their interests.
I mean, where else would you find like a high school teacher is good about, say, biology or AP computer science, but working with a college level professor who's working on research, for example, to your point, machine learning. Maybe there's a professor doing cryptography or something in cybersecurity. Right? They're working on a project with a PhD student and they want to bring that discussion into a high schooler's mind. Right? Now the level of intelligence has gone up exponentially. The professor wants to give you least amount of hand holding. So it's really where the eagles dare to come in. And mostly these students will end up going into these good programs. They are typically some of the toppers in their classrooms, right? They are definitely in the first quartile, if you will, or the top quartile of their class. They show up at these summer programs. Everybody is hitting it out of the ballpark. So it's literally like that experience they go through when they go to college, and learning to deal with peers who are better, if not better, at least at the level of you are at, and learning to work as a cohort together is an art. And if you could do this for 3 summers in a row, you don't have to go for summer programs every time. You could do an internship, you could do an externship, you could do a just a job some summer. But I know Stanford used to ask, they've stopped asking that question, but Stanford used to ask this question about, say, they would say, what did you do in the last summer that was meaningful? Last summer. So like literally the 11th grade summer, they wanted to know. And that to me was a very defining question, right? You better not write about the fact that you just went on a trip to a mission to in Timbuktu and made homes. You better talk about real stuff, because if you're applying to a top college for especially a STEM program, they will want to see that.
Absolutely. And it is also not, we are, catering it exclusively towards students who identified what they want to do.
Yeah.
The benefit is also reaped by students who do not know clearly what they want to do, but they sample this program and they are like, oh my God, I found it. I found my calling. Like, this is awesome. We had a student in mechanical engineering, right? Like, I watch Formula One. I like the build of cars. And then she's like, I don't know how to go to this program in Johns Hopkins. It's so competitive. Like, let's work our way. Let's see what your interests are. Let's get them projected. And then she goes to the program and comes back. And then that kid is not the kid from before, right? Full of confidence. And she's like, I loved the program. Peer group and building those hands-on projects and learning from it is just phenomenal. So on one hand, we have the experienced students who have solidified interest, and one hand, we have the new interest forming students, right? But both of them, if they apply on the right time and go to these programs, they reap the benefits in their own ways, which just makes them really stronger versions of themselves.
Well, look at the students who even solidified a thought process. Like you had some students who were thinking biology, they were thinking pre-med, but the fact that you were able to challenge them to computational biology, bioinformatics, even some of the students who were thinking CS, we could help them change some of their influence their thinking to think in terms of mechanical engineering and give them some entry level programs. So coming up with a one of the focus for these summer programs should be to not just double down on what you already know because you think that's going to look good in college, but maybe a psychology class in addition to your class that you're taking, or you might be decided to do a CS major, but taking a class in public policy and seeing applying some of your principles to public policy, showing that multifaceted personality makes you a candidate for honors programs to colleges. It definitely makes you a candidate to the Ivies, schools that are very humanities focused. Like you wouldn't walk into an Amherst and say, I'm a CS geek and that's why you should take a number one, liberal arts school to take me in. You want to show some dimension of larger thinking, that you are thinking in a larger dimension. And that's what Stanford wants to see. And so perspectives. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think we covered most of the questions we were thinking on, and building on, like, why do summer programs, right? And what do we think about, like, what are the common misconceptions students and families have about summer? I can see you laughing
I
already.
want to go. My child should get into Cosmos. I need my child to get to Brown, and once he gets to Brown, he'll get admitted into the college Brown University because he did a summer program, or this program is free, so it must not be that good, or this program is being taught by a college professor, so it must be good, or it's being taught in this campus. The Berkeley campus is teaching a program, so must be UC Berkeley teaching it. So all kinds of there are probably about like 20,000 summer programs right now to choose from. And people get suckered into a lot of, crazy stuff. I mean, but yeah, I mean, you could very well do just an internship. You could just very be doing you reach out to a PhD student and start doing an internship. Way to go. But yeah, go ahead. Tell me what
Yeah,
I.
just to re-emphasize what you said, getting into a summer program does not necessarily give you the thing you will get into their college. Summer program is that it is a boost if you use it the right way and have it as a way to build yourself up. You're strengthening your academic profile and also growing as a person through the journey you take, interacting with these professors, being in these classrooms, working in the labs, right? Like, so that is a growth by itself. So that is a misconception. I'm glad you brought that up and cleared it up. Um, and also the timeline they need to think about starting, right? Like, if most of the summer programs are competitive, and if you have to get into them in, say, June, July, August timeframe, the applications start as early as the December before or the January, February period. So there is a method to this madness, and we want the kids starting as early as in the winter before and the spring
Yeah.
to apply and get their applications rolling, the essays answered, all the requirements done. So, they can apply to the programs of interest and then move on from there. In some ways, actually, do you get the feeling? I feel like that's a mini capsule of what their actual college level application would be like, right?
Most students who do a good job, or at least can do it for 2 years in a row, planning for summer programs, they go through the rejection cycle. They go through the process of elimination cycle, the process of actually going, showcasing what they learned. So yeah, the quality of their essays and their personalities is significantly better. Yeah.
Yeah. With that, I think we should talk about, how, and in SK, how we look at this process, like how holistic, the approach we take is towards helping them from step one to, no, it's not like, as you said, there are like thousands of programs out there. If you're going to sit there all by yourself and figure it out, some can do it, but that's going to be really an arduous task, right? Like, where do you start? Where do you end? And I think that's where the experts here at SK come in with, here are the list, but we literally don't give you the list, right? We sit and work with them to handpick those programs suiting your needs, your interest, your financial affordability, whether you want to be from home, online, or commuter or residential, right? Like, we take into every factor that you can think about and come up with the best picks and then work with you downstream. And I think that's one aspect I'm really, really happy about the way we go at SK, helping these families and students.
Take a macro level perspective, right? You got 3 months, June, July, August, in which you have to finish your application or your summer work. A summer program better not be more than 4 weeks. If you're a young ninth grader, it better not be more than 2 weeks, 3 weeks maximum. Ninth and 10th graders should be going into programs which are closer to home, just giving them a dip into the process. But the larger thing is, what about your extracurriculars? What about your SAT, ACT prep? Maybe you want to take on an AP class during the summer. Maybe you want to go to community college and take a philosophy 201 class, like the fact that you've done AP Psych before, whatever you've done, just to complement. So there's so many ways. You could take a job, you could do an internship, you could do a summer program, you could take an online class, you could take a AP class, you could just prep for SAT. You could take a honors level. Say I've had students who've taken physics C or gone on to do wanted to do AP Physics 1, and we prepare them for physics honors in the summer. So you could have an academic route, a research route, an actual externship work route. There's so many ways to click it. And sometimes we land up in these meetings with these students where like, no, you are thinking about research, that you want to get into a research program. No, you need to get your academics in order. You need 70% of your application, especially to a UC or UCLA, is your academics. So, and a little lesser for the larger Ivy Leagues. But if that's the lion's share of your application, then we can do with a couple of model UNs, and especially I have students who have not done anything in extracurriculars or very little extracurriculars. We actually want to strengthen that extracurricular, not research side on some other students. So it depends which student, and then of course to your process of finding out the student, finding out the programs, applying to of deciding which ones you're going to apply to, having the student go through the executive functioning skill to actually build down, apply for recommendations, put in a personal essay. Most students have no clue what a personal statement is all about, and we actually end up helping them with that. And then that's the whole process. In fact, we will do a session on Cosmos later in the season where we'll actually just the process of looking at the 40 clusters that UC Cosmos offers to students and breaking it down and getting out to 2 clusters that they're going to apply for is a it's
It's a
a
research by itself.
it's a 10 to 12 hour research project on its own. And students who do that are guaranteed going to think better. Their applications will come out a lot better. Yeah.
Agree totally on that. So let's see what how SK, the philosophy by which we work, and how we prepare our students in their summer application process.
You start from that holistic perspective, right? How are you doing with your academics? How are you doing with the extracurriculars? How are you doing with so many different dimensions? And then we come to this. But yeah, I mean, you've been doing this quite a bit with me and with the other counselors. So fire away. Yeah.
Okay. So summer planning, actually, we say summer planning, right? Like, but as I said, it starts right in the winter before. We want to know what your interest is, and to that, towards that goal, you can see Harpal, with other counselors and me talking to these families, having a solid 1 or 2 hours down. It's not just one meeting. We really want to dig deep and find out what your interests are, because only then we can help you identify those programs which meet your requirements, which take you from point A to point C or D, somewhere solid, constructive, helping you grow not only in academics but also as a person, have a reflective journey, and that takes effort and planning. So, as we had already discussed, the problem is, right, like they are not clear. Often families are not clear about the importance of summer programs. And we pretty much talked about it, right? Why do anything in summer, right? We want to have you demonstrate your interest or identify an interest and work towards it, right? And definitely, summer programs can boost your profile. As Harpal was saying, the student went saying, I have no interest, I don't know. And then they went to a great mechanical engineering program and came back establishing this is exactly what I want to do. And this is what I gained from the program. And I cannot wait to dig deeper and build my profile and start. In fact, the student went and she contacted a neighbor who happened to be a NASA rocket building engineer. And she started getting her certification there in the next 6 months. And like, I cannot tell how that one program to somewhere like, solid with Johns Hopkins changed, like literally changed the axis of her thinking, like, rotated it.
Just something curious. They're thinking in their mind, saying this is cute, and John Hopkins, and then NASA, and then a phenomenal college after that. So that's a fun part of it. I also want to talk about the demonstration of research. Right?
Yeah.
We we notice many times students land up going into these research programs without even knowing what research is about, and then they struggle. So after they've joined the program based on their academics. But something we've done last year and or this earlier this year, and the jury is out how that's going to work out. But teaching research as a horizontal skill set, hopefully some of these students will be able to leverage that in their activities list. And like we've started research as an offering, so they can actually build that muscle of going through like in fact you ran the program, so I'm preaching to the choir here, but I think that's going to be a huge important to all these students who are applying.
Yeah, I got, Harpal, I got my PhD in molecular microbiology and a researcher for life. And what fascinates me is to help students build that research muscle. Whether you pursue it all the way to a PhD or not, or any other field, doesn't matter. You will be using those skills, the curiosity, why not, what happens, what can I do, how do I improve it, right? Like, how do I come up with a paper, an idea, or how do I collaborate? All these skills are part and parcel of developing your interest in research. So that is something we run for summer, with SK. And of course, we also go through when do you want to start looking and start applying, right? Like, so summer is serious business, right? So, and as we said, the concept is not just boosting your academics, right? You get a sense of direction, you build professionalism going through the whole, building your academic profile, writing those applications, sending them in. When you actually attend the program, the curiosity, the independence and growth you show, you know developing skill sets, and these students really come back able to reflect upon what they went through and use that meaningfully in their essay stories or talk about it during interviews. So the the way I look at it is the advantage is really manifold,
But
right? Not just.
as a college admissions counselor, as a essays coach, which of these 9 skills do you care about most?
I care about self-reflection, awareness.
Future mapping and reflection. That's it, right? I mean, that's what we care about ultimately for essays writings. Like, okay, show me the reflection.
when,
What did
when
you
things,
grow?
yeah. Absolutely. And perspective and curiosity. Like, to me, it's a curious mind. When one student doesn't understand how to write something, as a coach, I am super curious, right? Like, how can I make them understand? Like, there's the same infectious feeling the kids develop, right? Like, why is this way? What would happen if I tried this other way, right? Like, so don't tell me I loved it. Tell me why. What did you walk away with? How did you self reflect on this and what did you grow? Not just, oh, I did astrophysics, right? I learned problem solving. I collaborated with my peers. Something was not coming through to us from the mentor, and I asked him these questions, right? And that opened an opportunity where he wanted me to continue my research with him later on after this program. How cool is that, right? So definitely, like, think about the advantages. And I've only shown 9 sectors, and there are things beyond that, right? Like, so I would be somebody like saying, try a summer program, right? And of course, Harpal, you just talked about the importance of summer research. You know, strengthening your areas, showing a demonstrative drive and, like, commitment and initiative. So these are all very crucial later on when you talk about your honors program or you want to pursue research with a professor at your undergraduate level. These are all your, the steps of the ladder that you're climbing to build that muscle in research. And that's where SK research program comes into. In fact, I call it my personal baby. And we have these wonderful mentors offering in, their research in biomedical engineering, you know, bioinformatics, pre-law, pre-med, geographical information systems, which students are already latching onto and, taking advantage of.
More like a running start, right? Like it's you're giving a running start to the students, saying, let's understand what basics of research are at a very esoteric level, at a very basic uh, level. Take your topic, you decide which topic. We're not giving you a topic from Cosmos or anything, and learn what it means to come up with a paper or to take a position or to just to make a suggestion, be a part of academic, research, and it's working out okay.
Yeah.
Keep going. Don't have as much time today, but keep going.
So,
Okay, Summer, which one is your favorite one, Anu, over here? This is the programs we've sent students to, and obviously many more. Which one is your personal favorite out of this list?
you just want me to pick one?
I take two.
I would say Cosmos and Gatti.
Catty, interesting. Okay, interesting.
Gatti is a deep dive. I like that. They are able to actually. Okay, step back. I'm going for more. UCSB RMP, Research Mentoring Program. SRA is a shorter wing, RMP is a detailed wing, and you see Santa Cruz SIP. That's a 7 to 8 week program. It's long, and this is where one of my students was like a astrophysicist. Like, I can see him as a future astrophysics researcher. He went there and had a ball. Like, he was falling asleep in our meetings, but that was because of the 10-hour, work time he had. But 8 weeks of that, and the student who came back is like a phenomenally changed, grown person, right? What is your favorite, Harpal?
I like SRA.
Uh-huh.
Simply because it's got the humanities component to it. Different strokes for different students. SIP is fairly geeky, um, long programs. I don't expect 10th, ninth, and 10th graders to apply. Please don't. If you're
Yeah.
junior, don't apply. NASA Gene Labs for bioinformatics is phenomenal, free program, really good. Beaverworks is again free, very good program. Can't help people who have to go through the application process. It's such a cumbersome process, but you have students who went there. BU Rise was phenomenal for just biomedical in general and just bioinformatics, computational biology, good students who made it there. ATDP is great for AP programs. What I also like about ATDP is the fact that it's got the CEEB code, which helps you apply it for this program as an extended high school. So 1 month you get a full AP program done. Pretty cheap actually. John
Yeah.
Hopkins is great because they have commuter programs in addition to in Baltimore. That's really great. Business students, I've had multiple students go to Launch X. A little expensive, pricey, but Launch X has actually come in Berkeley too. They have a Launch X Berkeley, they have a Launch X they've come in multiple campuses now. So that makes the price a little better. So it becomes more of a commuter program. But I don't have a favorite. I just it's
I will rattle them all. I think about these all the time.
but you talked about you actually recommended some programs to these students for which were in UMass Amherst and stuff, right?
UMass Amherst, and there is SENGI, which is sustainable engineering and innovative engineering. So there are different programs which, like we in the West Coast, like that's where I think the strength of our programs. We do find these unique courses elsewhere in the US, and we bring them to you, right? Like it's not
Think
just limited.
this is where the problem comes though, because some parents and say, okay, I've never heard the name of this college, must not be a good program. An admissions officer does not look at the profile as such. They're looking at the profile in a continuum. They're saying, okay, the student did some research, did some work with extracurriculars, they did some great work in academics. Here's some work they did with a professor externally. They look at the larger picture. They do not look at this one shiny apple. Yes, of course, if you have MIT Beavers, it shows
It
up.
matters. Yeah.
But it's part of a larger journey, and you got to show what got you interested. How did you build on that interest at a later stage? You can't just say, I did it. It's done. It's got to show some momentum
Yeah.
there. Go ahead.
So we not only have the California centric ones, but we also have great programs from elsewhere too. Like for example, sustainable engineering. Johns Hopkins has a SEE program, which is phenomenal in sustainable engineering, which is a specific field. And there are kids who come in saying, this is an area that I want to explore, not just engineering, but sustainability engineering, right? So we have several programs, and of course, we walk you through that to find the exact short list that you need to arrive at. So with that, Harpa, summer planning. We talked about this.
Oh, we can beat it to death, summer program planning, but again, think of it in, there should have been the fourth one, which we talked yesterday about, angle over here, which is you're doing academics or you're doing SAT, ACT prep, which is not academics per se. So you're doing either studying for an AP or an honors program, or you're doing an SAT, ACT prep, or you're taking a college level course in a complete, like I've had physics students going to astrophysics classes at community colleges, which are frankly cheaper than a lot of these summer programs, which are like $8,000-$9,000 programs. Or you can work with us. Our team has Success Coach. We offer research. We also have summer institutes for extracurriculars like MUN, Model U, and debate, mock trial. So the options are many, and this is where I don't think we'll end up helping the students, because they are in their mind saying, okay, I'm going to do one summer program and that's all I'm going to do. And here we come in and say, June, you're going to do academic study, SAT, studies. July, you're going to do a summer program. And along the way, you're also going to be working on the model year and debate, building up additional conference. So it does become a lot of work, but most of our students tend to like it because we're very involved with them.
And if you look at it as fun, it is fun, right? If you look at it as a chore, then it becomes a chore. So it really the philosophy behind how you look at it. But I like that we have these many offerings. Like everybody can walk away with something meaningful and building from here on. So our process, I want to definitely spend some time talking about how we have a holistic approach in the way we take summer program planning. It's not just we give you a compiled list. Of course, it took time and effort to get to that list. You can imagine how many phone calls and discussions we have had on that list, or well, our master crunch list for summer, where we have categorized some of the best programs and based on not just commuter residential, the number of weeks involved, what is the affordability in many areas and different fields. And we have the one-on-one initial consultation with the families where we handpick a bunch of colleges out of them. We just don't send you with 500 colleges or summer programs to look at, right? And from there on we help you narrow it to like a handful of programs, at least 10 programs, where like these are the meaningful programs catering to your needs, what you want out of it, what is your affordability, what is your interest, how much time can you invest, right? And then they work downstream with their counselors and narrow down this list and start developing their application packets. And then of course the outcomes is where they look across and say, okay, I got into this, I didn't get into this, but these are my options and how do I work forward with that. But our process is really not one cookie cutter thing for everybody, but it is one on one with every family, every student, what their needs are, what their interests are, and then we help them build from there.
Yeah. Good thing is this process just got streamlined a lot this year. Like in the past, we used to just give them the little cookie cutter list and apply to these programs. But now that consultation, what I love about the fact the consultation is the students actually come in prepared. They've looked at that list beforehand. The smarter ones have actually already shortlisted 8 or 9 programs, and then they make our life easier. Well, not really easier because when we challenge them on different areas, I think you and I have a masochistic streak, or not a sadistical streak. We're like, oh, you got your
Thank,
bioinformatics clear. Did you think
thank
about
you.
engineering?
Thank you for clarifying that. But
It's important, right? We need to get the money's worth of that 1 hour. It's like that session has to be a torturous session. You can't make it fun for yourself. You
no, I mean, you have literally, sat through those sessions. What's the first question I asked them? Tell me why. Why do you want to do this, and why are you rejecting that? It's not that you want to convince me, but I want you to develop that reasoning to convince yourself. Like this is why I want to go, not because my mom said so, or my distant cousin did this, or my the third person living in the second house from mine went there, right? Like I want your passion to shine through, and when that shines through, you're able to look through the process and know what needs to be done. And so I can literally see you thinking, okay, there comes Anu with her question, why do you want to do this, or what do you want to do? But there
Worst
is
is the
that.
poor 10th graders, right? They're like, they look at you, they're like, what? We didn't expect that question. It's like, why? What is why?
And I'm like, you think I gave you those color coded, color coded programs? There is a reason I color coded them.
All
But
right, let's keep moving. Well,
yes,
we're
so we
running
have
short
the
on
timeline.
time, but keep going. Yeah.
There's a timeline, right? Like we do the consultation in early November, December. Then from December to May, it is clear, streamlined work with your counselors, adjusting the list, looking at some of them start, the deadlines. For example, UC GATI deadline is December 31st for early action. And then February 7th or around for regular decision. So you want your foot in the earliest, you meet the deadlines, and we will help you every step of the way how to put your brag sheets together to get those recommendation letters where the teachers say meaningful solid things about you instead of just saying, oh, they were a good student and they raised their hands to ask questions, right? Like you want that oomph factor coming into your recommendations that tells them that you're a serious candidate. And then writing those personal and subject essays, understanding the prompts and catering to why you would be a good candidate for those programs. Come May, you're making those decisions, and June to August, it's time, attending those programs and coming out of it, learning things beyond academics and, a strengthened, fortified academic portfolio in addition. So that's how the timeline looks. Any words on that, Harpa?
In general, the December to May tends to get a little more crunched because adjusting the list is December. Some of the good programs like Global Scholars from Yale or MIT RSI, even Austin Seas, NASA Seas, they're all December programs, like November, December. So some of the good programs, to your point, early actions are in November. Some of them close by December, like Bank of America scholars or Bank of America. I forget the name of the program.
Bank of America leaders, I think.
Leaders one, right? Same thing. It's December. So many times when students come to us in January, they've already missed out on some of the good programs. But
Yeah. So that's what the timeline looks like. So as I said, if you want to do something in summer, think about in the winter before that. Right. That makes perfect sense. So right now, I'm really excited, Harpal, to talk about case studies, right? Like where the students are in their the academic grades and how they are looking towards reaping the benefits of the summer program. And with your expert coaching so far in these many years, where do you feel is like the students fall between known interest and you know trying to find my interest?
ebbs and flows, to your point, I think you've got ninth and 10th graders who are mostly not clear, doing some discovery. Rarely do you see ninth and 10th graders with an established perspective. There are the outliers, but mostly those are for med school. And we have some great programs for med school. I think you're going to talk about
Yeah,
those.
absolutely.
Graders
So.
in more of the established perspectives.
Yeah, so if you're a ninth, 10th grader with not a clear outline in mind, then it is like you're trying to sample a few things and find your interest. If you already have an established interest, then let's start walking you through some serious research programs or internships where you invest time and effort to get some place more solid. 11th graders, they are like they have that last one summer, right? Before the application madness kicks in. So their focus is a little bit different where you have less time, but you want to be more focused and approach if you can identify an interest right away and put your stakes on it, right? Or if you've already done something in the summer before, then can we fortify it with a more immersive program to showcase your growth and your build? So with that, I want to walk through some case studies, where, depending on interests. And Harpal, you would have heard all about this, like computer science and engineering. What do we do? What do we do? What's your
The students who struggle with us are the ones who come and tell us computer science. I'm good at programming. I'm going to do a summer program based on that. Like that, it's hard to find. Like UCLA has a program for that, but most programs are not focused on programmers to become better programmers. They're looking at people from CS skills to actually connect them to engineering or to biology or to chemistry. And I see a lot of students struggling there because they don't like the different projects, the multidimensional projects. So we do have an issue sometimes over there. But nonetheless, go ahead. Let's see your list.
So, for computer science and engineering interests, where they have a recent interest, right? Like, and they've not done much in the idea in the area, or they're just like, oh, I've built a few skills here. Then we suggest kind of a horizontal, you know, roadmap for them. Like, go into a program where here is an intro to something and see if you like it. For example, Cal Poly Epic, JH Engineering Innovations. These are all like 1 week to 2-3 weeks program where they take you through introduction to engineering and put you in some hands-on projects, peer group interaction, actual lectures, and you walk out getting a feel of, for example, Cal Poly, they offer you 6 or 7 types of engineering, introductions. So from there, you kind of solidify an interest or see, okay, I like that better. I like the mechatronics better than just computer science or computer science with electrical engineering oriented, you know, approach. Then we have, as Harpal said, USC Discover Engineering, UCLA Summer Institutes for Computer Science, and UMass has some pretty good pre-college programs in computer science and engineering too. I mean, we have a whole list of 40, 50 programs in one area, but these are some things I picked for introductory, exploration. And Drexel Summer Institute also for that matter. And many of those programs can also be online. So it depends on the comfort as a student starting out. On the other hand, we have students with established interest. They have already had, done deep dive projects and clubs and programming before, and they want to dig more, much more, fortify their interest, show that they are the hero, right? So for them, serious programs, Cosmos, MIT RSI, Beaverworks, SRA and RMP from UCSB, those are intense programs, 4 weeks for SRA and 6 to 7 weeks for RMP, where you literally do research morning, evening, through the week, right? And for several weeks. And Stanford, as you were saying, Harpal, like, where do you apply, right? Like everybody comes saying, I want to do AI, artificial intelligence, right? Stanford has artificial intelligence in medical imaging, which is application oriented AI. For that matter, you see GATI, that is BEAM is biology, engineering, AI, and medicine, right? And GSET is exclusively for those gaming interest people. SIP is another intensive 8-week program at UC Santa Cruz, which is again research oriented. So on one hand, we have the simple programs, which are the horizontal, get introduced to this, and then we have the deep dives. So
More
where
of
do you?
your the list on the left is fairly engineering heavy. All of those programs are very heavy on engineering. UCLA probably is the only one which has more programming oriented, but it's a commuter program, so you have to be careful about that. The others are, most of them are commuter or um, residential.
Residential. Yeah, residential.
But yeah, CS in general, we have some programs which we can talk to them offline, but that's pretty much the list. But that's a good list to get started to thinking. I
Yeah.
think, if you've never gone to a program, maybe apply to it. So if you go back one slide,
Yeah.
if you've never done a summer program, then maybe start with, if you're thinking engineering, think of these programs, NJH engineering, Harpal types. But if you are more into it, second time you're going for it, Cosmos you should apply for every year as a California student. MIT RSI is only for 11th graders. BeaverWorks is for the younger students. SRA, RMP are phenomenal programs, but they're expensive like heck. And they are on a rolling admissions basis. So you have to be careful when you apply to them, because if you apply to them too early, maybe you're waiting for Cosmos to pop open, and that pops open only in end of March. So timing can be a factor over there. UC Agati is same thing. SIP, I think the deadline is end of March. So
End of March. Yeah.
you have to apply a little later. By the time they give the results, you know it later. But good stuff. What else do we have here?
So we also have, a lot of students come with their pre-med needs. And, some of them, again, the two categories where they have a recent interest and they want to do something fairly short and sweet and quick. And then they want to have some established interest. But I put Cosmos and MISA across the board because it doesn't hurt to, if you're not done Cosmos before, then try it now. One thing I want to point out, Harpal, is like the Rosetta Institute. That's, in fact, believe it or not, they have an offering for the Christmas holiday break between December 26th to 31st, like an immersive online program. They also have a commuter program. For example, I'm sending one of my students who is into bioinformatics. Like, she didn't know about it, and I'm like, hey, this program opens for those. What are you doing for Christmas? Nothing much. Try Rosetta. So, but they get so much out of the bioinformatics workshops, which Rosetta runs for 6 hours per day for 4 or 5 days across the week.
What's ironic is, or not, it's
So,
which is that you see a lot of good programs for med school, pre-med. They're good, like MISA has something in the summer as well as in the fall and in the spring. So does Rosetta. There are so many more research options for pre-med program students, but not as much for they're pretty good for engineering too. And there's some great programs for math, bioinformatics. The one that gets to me is like, like the one thing students know well is computer science. They've done computer science principles or they've done APCSA and they feel they can apply it. But rarely do you find a program that can just take those skills and require entry level skills for something else. Like Cosmos does come close to giving some of that element, but no other program does that. They all expect expertise, already resident expertise, which is ironic. Go ahead.
yeah. So, and on the other hand, if you have a deeper established interest in pre-med, then, Stanford programs, I would highly, highly recommend the Stanford programs, PIPS and cardiothoracic surgery, wing, and Unix and Medical Institute. And UC Irvine has a summer surgery program. Um, So does Drexel School of Medicine. They have a neuroscience camp exclusively looking at neuroscience. Then UC Getty Beam has research opportunities, and UCSB RMP also. Again, as Harpal said, we have lists of these programs. Of course, the slide can fit one of the, some of the top runners there, but we still have more programs, you know. And then we also have interest from non-STEM humanities area, right? Like what do we have for econ and business and poli sci? And as Arpal already talked about it, we have Bank of America Student Leaders Program, Bentley Wall Street, UCB Bay, LaunchX Bay Area, and other locations. So the availability of programs are plenty. Of course, it should be, in a way that is catered to you. That's why I think the initial consultation and working with us matters, because we are able to sit down and understand what is it you want, how does it fit your needs, starting from your availability, time, interest, affordability, everything, and narrow down 6 to 7 programs and then work your way from there. So we also have, programs that we have handpicked for bioinformatics, because believe it or not, Harpal, have you seen that bioinformatics seems to be the
Getting
recent,
bigger.
like I have 4 kids who are in bioinformatics, like one after another, and I'm like, hey, this works. So
General, right? We're seeing the same thing for mechatronics or mechanical engineering with biomedical engineering
yeah,
and computational biology, bioinformatics. The interest is through the roof, and you can see research programs also. So the puck is going there, or you puck is going in that direction. So you need to know where to position yourself, because that's where the opportunities are coming. So you've got business interest, UCB is close by in Berkeley. Wharton is a great program, but very expensive. Yale Youth Lab Global Scholars is a good program. They had early action in late November, I think, or
November, yeah, late
and
November.
January 15th is their regular decision. Penn Boss is again known. I don't know much about SD Bridge, so that's new to me on this list, but must be a good program. Um, Bentley Wall Street sounds pretty cool. But go ahead if you want to talk about the econ.
And again, the Econ for Leaders, EFL, is a phenomenal program, and so is the UCLA Economic Summer Institute. In fact, I was very impressed with the Georgetown, and in fact, some other programs also have this. They have an exclusive Econ Policy Academy through the Economics Institute. They offer these programs. So these are serious programs. Like if you are like, oh, I'm not sure, I just want to sample, then I know I'm like, why not choose a serious program that showcases your build in econ, right? Like, so I was pretty impressed with the list. Of course, we handpicked these, but they really go into the depths of, why you need to do this. Here is how a curriculum looks like. Here is how you will be immersed. So with that, I've tried covering all the bases. And, again, policy, pre-law, we have programs in all those categories too. It's just that too many slides to walk through, but
So
definitely
the
this is like,
takeaway, Anu, for the students is come up with your list of, do some research, meet with us. We can walk you through some of the list together. Come up with a list of 4 or 5 programs. Don't be intimidated by programs that sound clueless to you. Talk to us. We can answer some of those questions. We can have our mentors give you perspectives. If you have even a remote idea and you want to get more details, we can help you with that. We can also help you put your story together, connecting your past and where you're headed to some of these summer programs, how you can apply your skills to those. And then, of course, writing the essays, putting the brag sheets, recommendations. Yes, it sounds like a lot of work. Heck, if I was an 18-year-old, it or 15-year-old, it sounds scary to me, but the world has changed a lot, and this is the world you are in. So all we can do is provide guardrails and crutches to you. But yeah, as a student, you have to run this yourself.
yeah. As I say, you will always miss the opportunities that you don't take, right? You take them, you
That's
win
it.
some, you lose some, but you will. In fact, one of my students was like, hey, I don't know if I need to ask, for recommenders. I'm like, just go talk to the teacher. And then she texts me saying, yeah, I talked and he said yes. I'm like, yeah, that's an opportunity you took, and look what happened. So, no, we are definitely excited about the summer program and hope to see many of the families come and benefit from our SK consulting and the expertise we bring in. Any questions, you know where to find us.
Thank you, coach. Thank you. Thank you. Bye. Bye.
Thank you,
Nancy.
boss. Yeah.